Hi friends, welcome to a special Love School Responds for Women. With us here today is Darlie, another friend of mine, right Darlie?
Hi friends.
This friend here is single, so you single ladies, our Love School students who are single, pay close attention. You now have a representative on the program today, right Darlie?
For sure, Chris.
But Darlie, I brought you here because you have a very powerful story. For those of you who already know Darlie's story, I'd like you to tell us a quick summary in a bit, but you really were the type of woman who is very tough. You didn't want to have anything to do with having a husband, a family, a marriage, being a mother, nothing like the woman who you are now. You're not married, but you are a totally different woman now. And when we got to know your story, we couldn't see anything of the old Darlie in you. I look at you and wonder, how in the world did you do all these things in your past? It doesn't seem like you. You're now so feminine and gracious. How did you become someone so tough, so evil? Tell us a little, just a general summary of your story.
I had been abused as a child. I ran away from home at 13. I married or hooked up with guys 12 times. Got involved in crime, spent 2 years in prison.
So in this world of crime, you assaulted people, hurt people?
I assaulted people, became a drug dealer. I stabbed various people.
Okay. This is a detail I'd like to unpack. Because as a woman involved in crime, who steals, who's into drug trafficking and criminal activities, normally she has to be a woman who appears very aggressive, someone rude, brash.
Exactly. You can't have any feelings.
You can't have feelings. You can't have pity. You have to act that way because if you're going to commit the crime, you have to steal, then you can't let yourself feel anything.
It's as if what you were doing was right. It's the right thing to do. You gotta do what you gotta do. And that's it. No excuses.
And you were an aggressive girl. I know you stabbed people. It's not a very common thing, is it, Darlie? A woman who stabs people. Of course, no one should be stabbing people, but especially a woman. We look at you now and see someone so sweet and gracious and wonder, how could someone like you have stabbed people in the past with so much rage?
Well, really, I think it was all due to all the stuff I went through in the past. Like I had put up a wall, a shell, a defense mechanism to protect myself. For example, if someone got close to me, my first reaction would be to attack them. I would never allow myself to be unprotected. I would attack first just to keep myself from being attacked.
You would never put up with being insulted.
No.
So you were the opposite of that virtuous woman that we know from the Word of God that speaks of being gracious, who cares for her loved ones, who cares for her home. You didn't have any of that. That side of you had been hidden by all that anger you had that probably came from all the abuse that you had suffered in your past. Many women, because of abuse, and sometimes not just sexual abuse, but even emotional abuse, like when a father beats his wife, a child sees the violence, and just that is abuse to the child as well. So because of abuse of any kind, many young girls grow up with a lot of anger, right? A lot of anger, a desire for vengeance against the world, against men. Men become labeled as the ones who inflict suffering because that's all these girls have known, right?
Exactly.
So you were very aggressive. You must have cursed and swore.
Oh my gosh, a lot.
You swore a lot. You cussed people out. You wouldn't put up with any insults. You were very rude.
A lot. I was very rude. No matter what anyone said to me, I would always have a smart answer at the tip of my tongue, I never let myself get hurt for anything. I always had something to say, and I always say, I'm not a joke for you to make fun of my life, so deal with it.
Did you ever beat people up as well?
Mostly men.
Did you beat up women too?
Men and women, it didn't matter. Once I beat up a girl who had been drinking in a bar, and that girl started a commotion with another girl who was there with me, and I beat her until I knocked her unconscious, and her mother came in, and I beat her up as well, and so both were sent to the hospital. It was this uncommon strength. It was something surreal. People would look at me and say, "Are you serious? You did that?"
And did you feel good about that?
It was a feeling of power. Kind of like, no one's going to do that to me again. A saying in the world goes, your mother's gonna cry before mine does.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna hit you first, and I'm not gonna wait for anyone to beat me to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I felt, empowered.
And how do you feel about this woman who you have turned into? What do you think when you look at her? What do you think about her?
I had always wanted to be like this deep inside. You know,
But you never let anyone know she was there, right?
no, like I said, I had built that shell around me, that thick wall.
Yeah, and now this isn't going to protect you anymore. How could you allow yourself to look so seemingly weak now, right? Because when someone stops acting tough, stops cussing and being aggressive, and
They look like fools.
because it's like they have this reputation, and now people think that they've become idiots.
Exactly.
And so deep inside of you, you had always wanted to be the way you are now.
Right. I used to say, I'm not scared of you or of anything, not even of cockroaches, because I even pick up roaches and rats and anything. But I really did wish that I had been raised to be more refined. But the way I had been raised didn't allow me to be that kind of person. I had been raised to take on a kind of persona, a Darlie who was brash, reckless, rotten, who would take care of any conflict, which was what my family knew me for. They say, if there's a problem, call Darlie because she'll take care of it. And so I depended only on me. So I created this persona and I lived through it. But that was really not who I was. Today I know who I really am.
I need to explain this because a lot of women write to us and ask, how can I become that gracious, refined, and sweet kind of woman? Because I never saw that at home, and I admire it, but I don't know how to be it. Today you are a different Darlie. You have no problem if someone does something you don't like.
Not at all. Now I search myself to see what I have done wrong.
You don't curse anymore. You aren't aggressive. You don't react in anger anymore. You aren't involved in crime anymore. You get along well with others. You help others. So how did this change happen? Because these people who write to us, what they don't understand is that they think it's easy for those who were born like that. But they weren't. So how were you?
I sure wasn't born like that.
You weren't born that way. You never were. So how did this transformation happen?
The transformation happened because I was literally born again. I was really just born right now. When I had an encounter with God in the prison, inside that cell, it was like clothes that were inside out. I had been wearing clothes that were inside out, and now I had them the right way on.
It's because people don't understand this expression from God. Many churches of many denominations say that someone is born again just because they accepted Jesus, right? But the new birth is an experience like you just told us now. It's an experience that really transforms someone from the inside out. So everything that has been wrong inside of that person, everything that has been out of place, their wrong thoughts, bad motives, a past that had built up so many walls and shells inside of them, when they are born again, the experience is so powerful and so supernatural that they lose all of those things inside of them. But it's something spiritual. It's not just an experience where you just feel good at the moment. Oh, I feel so great. I feel the presence of God. Or, oh, it's so moving, so wonderful. It's not just feelings. It's a real experience that happens inside of someone. And that's what happened to you.
Exactly.
It was an experience so strong that changed you from the inside out. Everything outwardly was still the same. In your case, you were still a prisoner inside of a cell. You kept on inside that cell, but you were no longer the same Darlie. What happened?
When that transformation of being born again happened, when I realized I had been wrong about everything, all that I thought was right was actually wrong, and when everything inside out had been reversed, I began to see. I began to even feel nauseous about things I had done. I began to hate it. I said, God, I've done so much wrong. I could have had you my whole life. All I ever wanted was this.
But you hadn't seen that.
No, because I hadn't valued myself. I was blind.
And sometimes I get this impression that when I'm speaking to someone, when I'm talking on the program, that person isn't understanding what I'm saying. I'm telling them, you have to value yourself. You have to respect yourself. You have to, fight for yourself. You have to strive for yourself. I'm talking to them, but it's like it's all Greek to them. They just can't see what I'm saying. Sometimes I'm counseling someone and I tell them that they need to fight for themselves, and they turn around and say, but my husband. But you were, all these years before you had had this experience with God, you just couldn't see the state you were in. You had become the product of what the world had done to you. But you couldn't see that you had the choice not to be that way. You thought you were stuck with being the result of that world. I was abused, so now I'll abuse other people. I'll be evil. I'll get revenge. I'll do whatever I have to do to get revenge on anyone and anything. So you lived to carry out the same results of what you had suffered. When you finally had an experience with God, you found out that you really never needed to accept the results of all that had been done against you. You needed to make other choices, but only God can cause someone to really see. Only God. And this is an experience that many of you women need because, tomorrow is International Women's Day, and every year I wonder, why do we need a day like this? Why don't men have an International Men's Day for themselves? If they do, I have no idea about it. But why? Why don't men need this? Because women undervalue themselves so much that they need a day of their own to do rallies and do things, to go on social media and vent their opinions and show off their bodies. They feel like they need to do so much just to feel a little bit of the value that they have. Just a little. And I know that your value can't be found in these things. Your value isn't in demanding respect from other people, from men. It's not there. Your value isn't in the money you have in the bank, in your popularity, and how many followers you have on social media. Your value isn't in your beauty or appearance. If you had a toned body or not, if you're thin or tall or this or that. No, your value does not lie in these things. If you're married or single, that's not your value. Your value is so far beyond these things. But as long as you don't see that you need to know who actually gives you your value in the first place, which is what happened to you. That's what happened, right, darling?
Literally.
That experience with God caused you to see and realize that God saw you just the way you were. And even so, he valued you so much that he allowed you to have an experience with him. That day, you married God, right? You married him. He accepted you the way that you were. That Darlie who had done all that stuff, right? All those bad things, all those crimes. He accepted you and made you a new Darlie. He made you into a new Darlie, a bride for himself. A bride who turned into a woman who was pure. And then what happened? You stopped being that old person. Was it immediate?
It was literally like I went to sleep and woke up another person.
Didn't people think you were weird?
Oh yeah, a lot. And in the prison, everyone knew me. Everyone saw me all the time, every day. And when I woke up, it was the most beautiful day for me. Everything was more beautiful. And he had prepared all for me. He had given all of this to me. I already knew my value to him because I knew him. And when I left my cell, some of the other girls shouted at me, "Hey, homegirl, what's going on with you?" And I said, "Why?" They said, "You're looking like an angel. Where's that nasty face you always have?" I told them, "I found God." It was very visible. Lots of people, even people who weren't friendly to me, would walk by and say, "I feel peace when I'm close by you." I felt great when I was alone in myself. And I was the kind of person who nobody wanted to be around because if you came anywhere close to me and I didn't like you, I'd say, "What are you doing here? Get out of my face. I don't like you. Get out of here."
But you've changed a lot.
A lot.
Darlie, after this break, I want you to tell us how you were able to have this experience with God. Because it's not enough for someone to want an experience with him. There's something they have to do. You did something. We'll talk more after the break.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I am held when I am falling short. And when I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe the only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I am held when I am falling short. When I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe. Taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short. When I don't belong, oh, you say I'm yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe, oh, I believe, yes, I believe what you say of me. I believe.
So, Darlie, what did you do to have this new birth, this supernatural experience with God?
I surrendered my life. I was sincere with Him. I let go of everything that I thought was mine, but it had never been mine. It had always been His.
You surrendered everything that you had thought, that you had wanted. You handed over everything. You bundled it into a single package and kept nothing for yourself, but gave it all to God. This surrender is something that a lot of people think they're doing when they go up front during a service. Who here wants to give their lives to Jesus? And so they go up and they give their life right there, but they don't give it all. They think, yeah, I want to give my life, but literally they don't.
I'd gone up to the altar lots of times before, but had never really given my life.
You had to be there inside your cell to surrender your whole life to God. And this is what you need to do, my friends. If you want to be a strong woman, if you want to know what a real woman is, then stop trying to be a fake woman, the kind of woman created by the world, a woman who's bitter and full of grudges, full of obsessions. Things have to be your way, prideful, vengeful, jealous, insecure, weak, so sensitive, so emotional, so brash, so aggressive. But if you want to leave behind being this woman with all these walls built up and become a true woman, a woman that God created you to be, then come to church tomorrow.